Hi, welcome to Organic Chemistry 1. In this first video, I'm going to introduce you to the idea of what is organic chemistry. Before we start studying it, it's probably a good idea to understand what we're going to be learning about this semester. So, what is organic chemistry? It's the best chemistry, obviously. But really, organic chemistry is the chemistry of compounds that contain the element carbon. Organic has a lot of connotations these days, mostly with regards to our food and the products that we use on our bodies, like shampoos are organic these days, and body wash, and your toothpaste, and the tomatoes that you eat. Everything is, marketed as organic. But when we're talking about chemistry, what we mean is just anything that contains the element carbon, which actually comes down to a lot of things, including pesticides. So organic chemistry is a much broader topic than we might think based on what we usually use the word organic for in everyday life. So for example, methane. This is the smallest possible organic molecule. It's 1 carbon, 4 hydrogens. This is the gas that you burn in your gas burning stoves, in your water heaters, things like that. It's natural gas, the main component. Not really something that you normally think of when you think of organic. Propane, also a gas that we burn fairly regularly if you're into propane grills and propane accessories. King of the Hill joke for you there. But so is tryptophan. This molecule here is the amino acid that people love to blame for those after turkey naps on Thanksgiving. Really, you're just napping because you're very full and you probably ate a lot more food than you normally have, and maybe you've been cooking that food all day. So you're just tired, but tryptophan is usually blamed. Now, this molecule is actually drawn out in what's called a line bond structure, which is not something you've learned yet, but you will learn in just several videos. So for now, just know that every time you see an intersection of a line, there's actually a carbon atom there and possibly several hydrogen atoms. So we'll talk about that later, but this is a carbon-containing compound even though you do not see the letter C. Leucine is another amino acid. It's also an organic compound because it contains carbon. So is cholesterol, right? Cholesterol is not something that you think of as healthy necessarily. There are good and bad forms of cholesterol, but it may be a little outside your general understanding of organic. So is cocaine, right? Cocaine is an organic molecule because it has a ton of carbon atoms in it. And methamphetamine. So I realized I ran kind of a weird gamut here from natural gases to hard drugs, but I really wanted to go with the shock and awe factor. So in this course, cocaine is an organic molecule and so is methamphetamine. So there are two related but kind of different fields of chemistry that often get confused. There's organic chemistry and natural products chemistry. And since organic tends to have the connotation of good for you, comes directly from the earth, is pesticide free, and so forth, it tends to get confused with natural products chemistry. So organic chemistry is a very broad topic covering anything that has carbon atoms, while natural products chemistry is very specifically about the synthesis of compounds that can be found naturally. So it's actually a small sub-branch of organic chemistry. So a little background on where organic chemistry came from and whose fault it is that you have to take this course. So vitalism is an older term that said organic compounds only came from living organisms, but that's not true at all. In 1828, Friedrich Wöhler synthesized urea from ammonium cyanate. This is the first synthesis of an organic compound and also the beginning of organic chemistry as a scientific field. So it's his fault that you're taking this course. So here we have ammonium cyanate, and upon heating it up, it goes through kind of a rearrangement mechanism, and a substitution is something that you haven't seen yet before, in order to produce urea, which is this molecule here. And urea is an organic compound because look at that carbon atom. So this was the beginning of organic chemistry as a scientific field, because somebody took a compound that did not necessarily come from the earth. This is considered an inorganic compound, kind of. It's a salt, and it was heated up and made something that is actually a byproduct that comes from our bodies. You can find urea in urine. So anyway, really interesting. Natural products chemistry is the study of compounds that are isolated from living organisms, and is therefore totally different from the broad field of organic chemistry. So, a disclaimer about this chapter. The majority of this chapter is, a so-called friendly reminder. It's largely a general chemistry review. So there's nothing in chapter 1 that you have not seen before, except perhaps line bond structures. That is the only new piece of information that you are going to get in this chapter. And therefore, you are responsible for this information. If you see something in this chapter that you don't know, you are responsible for reviewing it. And please come to my office hours. Please talk to me and tell me if you're having issues with things. But because this is a review chapter, we're not going to spend very much time on it in class.